You hired great people, smart, capable, hardworking folks. So why does everything still fall on you? Why do projects start strong and then just die? Why do the same issues come up week after week in meetings, never actually getting solved? If you're nodding your head right now, this video is for you. I'm Jacqueline Jensen, a professional EOS implementer working with business owners across North Metro Atlanta and Georgia. And before I became an implementer, I lived this exact frustration. I was managing 120 employees at Horseshoe Bend Country Club. I had talented people on staff, people I trusted, people who cared. But somehow, I was still the one carrying the weight. Every decision, every problem, every fire that needed putting out came back to me. And I couldn't figure out why. Today, I'm going to break down the 3 reasons your team isn't executing even when they want to. And I'm going to show you exactly how to fix it using tools and disciplines from EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. This isn't theory. This is what I use to turn around my own organization, drop turnover by 34%, more than double our profits, and actually get my life back. And it's what I use with my clients across Georgia who are dealing with the exact same challenges. The problem? Great people, poor results. Let me start with a hard truth. If your team isn't executing, it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't care. And it's not because you hired the wrong people, although that can be part of it. The real issue is that your team is operating in a system that doesn't give them what they need to succeed. Think about it. You've got the people showing up every day, working hard, putting in the hours, but at the end of the quarter, when you look at what actually got done, it's disappointing. The big priorities didn't move forward. Projects stalled halfway through. The new process you wanted to implement never got off the ground. And you're sitting there thinking, what happened? We talked about this. Everyone agreed. Why didn't it happen? Here's what I see all the time in Georgia businesses, especially in trades, family companies, and hospitality. Owners love their teams. They believe in their people, but there's no structure. No clear accountability, no rhythm or discipline that keeps everyone focused on what matters most. So good people spin their wheels, work gets duplicated, balls get dropped, the owner ends up doing it themselves because it's faster than waiting. Sound familiar? Let's dig into why this happens. Reason number 1, your team doesn't know what they're accountable for. The first reason teams don't execute is because roles and responsibilities are fuzzy. People don't know what they actually own. And when they don't know what they own, they can't be held accountable for results. Most businesses use an org chart. It shows names and boxes with lines connecting them. It tells you who reports to whom, but it doesn't tell you who's accountable for what. It doesn't show what success looks like in each role. And it definitely doesn't help you figure out where the gaps are or where people are stretched too thin. Let me give you a real example from my own experience. When I was running the country club, we had a food and beverage director. Great guy, worked his tail off, but his role was a mess. On paper, he was responsible for the dining room, the bar, catering, events, vendor relations, inventory, staff training, and member experience. That's not one job, that's 5, crammed into one person. And because he was overwhelmed, things slipped. Inventory got sloppy, training didn't happen, member complaints went up, and guess who had to step in and fix it? Me. The problem wasn't him, the problem was the structure. We didn't have an accountability chart that clearly defined the major functions of the business and who owned which one. So responsibilities overlapped, gaps appeared, and nobody knew where their lane started and stopped. In EOS, we use something called the accountability chart. It's not an org chart. It's a tool that defines the right structure for your organization based on 4 major functions: integrator, sales and marketing, operations, and finance. Every company, no matter the size or industry, has these 4 functions. However, we customize a number of seats at the leadership team level to fit the needs of each unique organization. And some organizations have a 5th key function called the visionary. Once the leadership team structure is built, we build out every seat in the organization. Each seat has a clear role, clear responsibilities, and clear accountability. When you build an accountability chart, magic happens. Suddenly people know what they own. They know what winning looks like, and they know when to make a decision and when to escalate. And you, the owner, stop being the catch-all for everything that doesn't have a home. Let me tell you what happened when we built our accountability chart at the club. We realized that our food and beverage director was sitting in 3 seats, so we restructured. We separated catering and events into its own seat. We gave someone else ownership of vendor relationships and inventory. And we let the food and beverage director focus on what he was actually great at, which was member experience and team leadership. Within 90 days, quality improved, complaints dropped, and he wasn't burnt out anymore. That's the power of clarity. Reason number 2, your team doesn't know if they're the right person in the right seat. The second reason teams don't execute is because you've got people in the wrong seats. Maybe they're great people who share your values and care about the vision, but they're doing work that doesn't match their strengths. Or maybe they're in the right seat, but they don't actually have the capacity, the skills, or the desire to do the job well. This is one of the hardest things for business owners to face, especially in family businesses or tight-knit teams. You love your people. You've been through tough, hard times together. You don't want to hurt anyone or make tough decisions, so you tolerate mediocre performance, hope things will get better, and end up carrying the weight yourself. But here's the truth. Tolerating the right person in the wrong seat doesn't help them, and it doesn't help your business. It breeds resentment on the team, it lowers the bar for everyone, and it puts an unfair burden on the people who are performing. In EOS, we use a tool called the People Analyzer to evaluate whether someone is truly the right person in the right seat. It's simple and it's honest. First, you ask, are they the right person? That means, do they share your core values? Do they behave in a way that you expect people to behave in your company? If the answer is no, they're not the right person, even if they're talented. Second, you ask, are they in the right seat? And that comes down to 3 letters, G, W, C. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Let me break that down. Get it means they understand the role. They don't need constant hand-holding or explanation. They see what needs to happen and they do it. If someone doesn't get it, no amount of training is going to fix that. They're either wired for that role or they're not. Want it means they have the desire and the passion for the work. They're not just showing up for a paycheck. They actually care about the results. If someone doesn't want it, they'll go through the motions, but you'll never get their best effort. Capacity means they have the time, the skills, and the bandwidth to do the job well. I see this all the time in small businesses that are growing. You promote someone because they were great at their old role, but the new role requires a completely different skill set, and they just don't have the capacity to grow with it. That's not a failure on their part. It's a mismatch. Here's what changes when you use the People Analyzer. You stop guessing. You stop hoping. You make clear, objective decisions about whether someone is the right person in the right seat. And if they're not, you have the confidence to make a change, whether that's moving them to a different seat, coaching them up, or helping them find a better fit somewhere else. Let me be clear, this isn't about being harsh or uncaring. It's about being honest. And high-performing teams are built on honesty. When you set the culture and the structure, the system carries the emotional weight of people decisions. You're not the bad guy. The standard is the standard, and everyone is held to it. Pardon the interruption, but if you're finding value in today's video and you'd like to book a 90-minute meeting to learn more about EOS, I'd love to connect with you. Click the links below. Now back to the video. Reason number 3, your team has no rhythm, no discipline, and no way to solve problems. The third reason teams don't execute is because there's no rhythm. No consistent meeting structure, no regular check-ins on priorities, no disciplined way to solve issues. So people work in silos, priorities shift based on whoever yells the loudest, and problems get discussed over and over without ever getting resolved. Let me ask you a question. How do your meetings feel right now? Are they productive? Do people leave energized and clear on next steps? Or do they feel like a waste of time? Do the same issues come up week after week? Do conversations go in circles? Do people check out halfway through because nothing ever gets decided? If your meetings are a mess, your execution is going to be a mess. Because meetings are where alignment happens. Meetings are where you track progress, surface issues, solve problems, and hold each other accountable. If your meetings don't work, nothing else will. In EOS, we use something called the meeting pulse. It's a set of structured, reoccurring meetings that create a rhythm in your organization. The most important one is a level 10 meeting. It's a 90-minute weekly meeting with your leadership team, and it follows the same agenda every single time. Here's what happens in a level 10 meeting. You start with a quick personal and professional check-in. Everyone shares one thing going on in their life and one thing going well at work. This builds connection and trust. Then you review your scorecard, which is a handful of weekly numbers that tell you if you're on track. No opinions, no feelings, just data. Then you check in on rocks, which are your 90-day priorities. Are they on track or off track? Simple yes or no. Then, and this is the most important part, you spend the majority of the meeting solving issues. Not talking about them, not tabling them, solving them. You use a 3-step process called IDS, which stands for Identify, Discuss, Solve. Let me teach you how IDS works, because this is a tool that changes everything. First, identify. Someone raises an issue and states it in one sentence. Then the team asks clarifying questions to make sure everyone understands the real issue. Not the symptom, but the root cause. Then you discuss. You talk through options, perspectives, and ideas. And then you solve. You make a decision, assign ownership, and move on. Here's what's powerful about IDS. It forces transparency. Issues can't hide or get swept under the rug. It forces speed. You're not scheduling another meeting to talk about the next issue in a month. You're solving it now. It forces accountability. Someone owns the solution and everyone knows who that is. I'll tell you this. Every single team I work with, when I ask them at the end of the first quarter together, what's working? They say the same thing. Level 10 meetings and IDS. Why? Because it's the first time they've had a consistent, structured way to solve problems. And solving problems builds trust. Trust builds momentum, and momentum builds results. What happens when you fix execution? Let me paint you a picture of what changes when you get the people component right. When you have the right people in the right seats, when everyone knows what they're accountable for, when you have a rhythm and a discipline for solving issues, everything shifts. First, communication improves. People aren't guessing what's expected of them. They're not stepping on each other's toes or duplicating work. Information flows because everyone knows their roles and respects each other's lanes. Second, accountability becomes natural. You don't have to chase people down or play bad cop. The system holds people accountable. The scorecard shows if someone is hitting their numbers, rocks show if priorities are on track, and the level 10 meeting, everyone can see who's delivering and who's not. Peer accountability is way more powerful than owner accountability. Third, problems actually get solved. Instead of the same issues coming up quarter after quarter, you knock them down and they stay down. Your team builds confidence. They stop feeling like they're spinning their wheels and they start feeling like they're making real progress. And fourth, the owner gets a life back. You stop being the bottleneck, the firefighter, the person who has to be in every conversation and every decision. Your team steps up because they finally have clarity, the tools, and the confidence to execute without you. Here's some real-life examples from Georgia companies. Let me share this story. I worked with a family-owned business in North Georgia, a trade services company. Great people, solid reputation, but growth had stalled. The owner was working 70 hours a week. His leadership team was frustrated because roles overlapped and nobody knew who was responsible for what. Meetings were painful. Issues got talked about but never solved. We started with the accountability chart. We defined the 5 major functions and identified who would sit in each seat. Turns out the owner was sitting in 3 seats himself. He was the visionary, the integrator, and half of operations. No wonder he was exhausted. We restructured, moved some people into clearer roles, and hired an integrator to run the day-to-day. Then we implemented the Level 10 meeting. Every Tuesday at 9 a.m., the leadership team met for 90 minutes. Same agenda, same structure, every week. The first few meetings were rocky. People weren't used to calling out issues or holding each other accountable. But by week 4, something shifted. Issues started getting solved, decisions happened faster, and the team started to trust the process. Within 90 days, the owner told me, "This is the first time in 5 years I feel like I can breathe. My team is handling things I used to have to do myself, and we're actually growing again." That's what happens when you fix execution. Another example, I work with a hospitality group in Atlanta. They had multiple locations, great staff, but turnover was killing them. People were burned out, confused about roles, and nobody felt like they could solve problems without calling the owner. We built an accountability chart for each location. We trained every manager on how to run Level 10 meetings and use IDS. We started using the People Analyzer to make sure that everyone was in the right seats. Within 6 months, turnover dropped by 30%. Managers felt empowered, staff knew what was expected, and the owner wasn't getting calls at 10 p.m. anymore because the team had the tools and the confidence to handle issues themselves. That's the power of structure, rhythm, and accountability. Now here's some common mistakes that kill execution. So before we wrap up, I want to warn you about these common mistakes I see that kill execution even when teams are trying to use EOS. Mistake number 1, skipping tools or adapting them instead of using them purely. EOS works because the tools work together. When you start modifying them or skipping steps because they feel uncomfortable, you lose the power of the system. Use the tools as designed. Trust the process. Mistake number 2, not holding each other accountable. Poor management and lack of accountability lead to complacency, and complacency kills culture. If you tolerate people not doing their jobs, you'll lose your best people. They'll leave because they're tired of carrying the weight of everyone else. Mistake number 3, letting issues sit instead of solving them. This breaks trust. When your team sees the same problems week after week and nothing changes, they stop believing that anything will change. IDS fixes this. Use it. Mistake number 4, running inconsistent meetings. If you cancel level 10 meetings or show up unprepared, you're telling your team that the process doesn't matter. Consistency is everything. Show up, run the meeting, and hold the line. Mistake number 5, trying to implement EOS too fast. EOS is simple, but it's not easy. It requires discipline and behavioral change. Don't try to roll out all the tools in 1 week. Build the foundation first. Start with the accountability chart, rocks, the scorecard, and level 10 meeting. Get those strong, then layer in the rest. If you're sitting here thinking, my team isn't executing, and now I know why, here's what I want you to do. First, take an honest look at your structure. Do you have an accountability chart? Does everyone on your team know what they're accountable for? If not, let's start there. Download the free accountability chart template from EOS Worldwide and start mapping out the major functions of your business. Second, evaluate your people. Use the people analyzer. Are they the right people? Do they share your core values? Are they in the right seat? Do they get it, want it, and have the capacity? Be honest. If the answer is no, make a plan to address it. Third, implement the level 10 meeting. Pick a time, commit to 90 minutes every week, and follow the agenda. Start using IDS to solve your issues. You'll be amazed at how quickly that builds momentum. And fourth, if you're ready to go deeper, if you want expert help to guide your team through this process, book a free 90-minute meeting with me. We'll talk about your business, your team, and whether EOS is the right fit. There's no contract, no pressure, just clarity. And even if you decide not to move forward, you'll walk away with at least one thing you can do right now to improve execution. Your team isn't failing you. They're operating in a system that's failing them. And the good news is you can fix it. You can build an accountability chart that brings clarity. You can put the right people in the right seats. You can create a rhythm with L10 meetings and IDS that solves problems and builds trust. And when you do, execution becomes natural. Your team steps up, results follow, and you get to lead instead of manage. I'm Jacqueline Jensen, and I help business owners build better companies so they can live better lives. If this video helped you, hit subscribe, drop a comment below, and let me know what resonated most. And if you're ready to take action, visit my website and book that 90-minute meeting. Let's build a team that executes. Thanks for watching.